as inflation. Conceivably.
Yes, exactly.
It'll change every year, and then every year you have a different. It's not going to, it's not something we control, it's whatever the government, basically, the federal government says.
Someone in the back.
Yes, ma'am. Let's try this here first. Let's try to get a few more questions in before we have to wrap up.
Question, since we're building a new elementary school.
Yes.
The other ones are obviously not going to be used at some point in their futures. Those that looked at.
Under consideration, yes.
I don't know what you said, I
Yeah.
can't hear, I can't hear you.
The question is, what happens when the new school reorganization happens? Some of the schools will no longer be used. What's going to happen to that space? That certainly is something that has to be considered by the town for.
Jen might be able to answer that. I think we don't own the schools.
Right, so the schools actually need to be released to the town from the Board of Education before the town can make any determinations on what to do with those properties. So even once we have the new school built on Mungertown Road and Jeffrey School closes and Town Campus Learning Center closes, the town itself cannot make a determination what to do with those properties until the Board of Education says, we're certain we're not going to use these anymore. We release them back to you, Town of Madison. And then we're also developing a facilities committee that's going to be part of the town, like all of our other committees. And they're going to be looking at parcels of land, buildings, that sort of thing. So that would also include, you know, those school buildings or properties as they came back to the town, and, you know, what could best uses or reuses be of those properties. That facilities committee would probably also be looking at parcels of land that maybe come up for sale that the town might want to acquire. So that is, I guess it's a very broad process.
Yes.
That's a good option. It's
So
something
is
you're
it
gonna
the
take.
town, what, for education? or-
Town.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Town, because the town pays for those properties and for those buildings to be constructed. So it's not the state Board of Education, it's the town Board of Education.
Yes.
So I know it's a real limited number, but do you have any data on who actually lives in the deed restricted units that have been built? Because we hear a lot about the argument as well, we need more housing for teachers, first responders,
Right.
town employees, and that's a very strong argument. But is that actually what's happening?
No, I mean, where we are right now, as I mentioned earlier, we have 90% of the affordable housing, deed restricted affordable housing in town is Concord Meadows, which is restricted to people who are disabled or and or elderly.
And on the other 10%, do you have an
Pardon?
idea? And on the other 10%, is there any?
We don't, I mean, there
No
are units in different places, there's, you know, mostly market rate housing and then a few affordable housing. We've not tried to survey those people who live in those houses. Yes, let's take this gentleman here.
So it sounds like if we tease out all these different issues, I know it's not a senior exclusive situation, but I think that's a huge driver of this discussion. I think a lot of seniors who from town probably feel the pinch of trying to stay in town. And then we talk about, you know, your kids wanting to come back. Well, maybe they don't want to come to Madison because they're having fun in Brooklyn and Denver and all the places where New York City and San Francisco where, you know, they don't want to be in a quiet town, which sort of comes back to how do we make Madison sort of more interesting, I suspect is. But what about if we lead with what affordable housing could look like by getting some local or not architects together and showing pictures of, you know, get Duo Dickinson, for example, and find some plots of land in Madison and, you know, without a plan, without a P and Z, without, you know, reality, and just show, you know, this cool project could go here. You know, we don't know how but lead with the carrot.
We do have pictures of housing that, no, we don't need an architect. It's been
Well,
built
we've
all-
seen it from that guy from Westport, and he picked stuff, and none of it was all that attractive, frankly, but
Okay, so
from someone from Madison who.
Let me, I'm sorry, we have to wrap this up in a minute or two, so behind you, I'm sorry, and there you go.
I know you've said, I've watched all the videos that you put up on YouTube, thank you for that. And I know you've said that you aren't picking, you know, places. You're trying to, you know, work this out first, and I respect that. And I respect your volunteer time. One of my concerns is I live on the end of Madison where there's a lot of dense housing. You know, we have all those little cottages, we have, you know, these new developments. And I get concerned, we're not dispersing it around the town. I think if you sort of create this area, and I understand it's because of transit, but, and I know you're addressing transit should be in other areas of town.
Right.
Should be also for people who don't want to drive anymore.
Mhm.
I would encourage the, you know, moving it around town and not concentrating it right along Route 1.
I think that
And
would be.
what I'm thinking is gonna happen, it's gonna be at the ends of town that are less desirable.
I live in the same end of town as you.
Yeah, so I think what they're building is quite nice, I'm not really against what they're doing.
I think that's an issue, no one really wants a whole concentration of housing anywhere. I think everybody would like to have a little bit more space around. So to try to answer your question, there's no plan beyond right now, the Wellington, to build any more housing in town that is going to be affordable. It's in the process. There are some things in process, but nothing that's going to happen. And it's very unlikely, there are no developers right now coming in and building larger units like the Wellington.
Because the unit that's for sale across the street from me, which I know is a single unit, but I could picture, like this gentleman was saying, I could picture a nice unit developed, it could be 3 units.
Mhm.
That would not be out of scale with the rest of the neighborhood if it's done appropriately.
Right.
And
we agree.
that would be across the street, literally across the street from me, and I would be for
And we
that.
agree with you. And we
I would
agree
be 100%.
Well, people should follow the PC tomorrow, because it's 24
with you. Sorry.
I'm just wondering, is there specs written somewhere on the square footage of the units? Does 830G tell us anything like that? How many bedrooms, something like that? It'd be up to a developer? Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, just one thing on that though. The affordable unit can't be different from the market rate units. They have to be of the same quality and same
And
kind.
the same appliances and, it's
Right,
not like.
just as
four
nice.
people live here.
The developer in their proposal will set forth how many bedrooms. That's the driver, right? 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms.
The developer decides that.
The developer is part of their plan.
Yeah.
To get financing, they have to have a plan and they have
Okay.
to show what family sizes they're accommodating, what income levels, what percent of the area median income. Because it's not just everybody at 80%. They're gonna have some at 60%, some at 70%.
Okay, I think,
Thank
we're
you.
running out of time. Has anybody here not been able to speak and would like to? I mean, there are some people who come back. Yes,
Hi, my name is Betsy Piner, and I've known Mark from the Madison Historical Society. To talk about schools being converted, I had an appointment with Fillmore McPherson when he was our first selectman about Academy School before anything had started to happen there. And the one thing I took away is Madison as a town is not going to become a landlord.
Right.
that's correct.
And a conversion of that school property, just to be clear, it would not be the town doing it. It would be a sale to a developer
Okay.
who would undertake that, because a lot of these affordable housing projects, they like to hire basically a property manager that can maintain everything. And so it would not be the town of Madison developing property.
I'm glad it's being talked about. The other thing is to think about forming a management company for your properties, not hiring management companies.
That's, right now, at this point, there has to be a management company. And right now, that would be a major change from what Madison's been doing before. We don't have enough units right now. So I think at some point, it makes sense if you're developing a whole bunch more units. At some point, it does make sense that it's more economical and more efficient to have your own rather than- right now, that would be something.
Right. And I will say too, with these affordable housing developments, it's not Madison paying for those property managers. It is the developer of that property that pays for those property managers.
Yeah, sorry, that's a very
Yeah.
good point. It's not the town. That's-
So we reap the benefits of people coming in, spending their money here, working here, but without cost of maintaining all of that.
And as I was saying before, there's actually, if the grand list increases faster than it is right now, that actually would lower our cost of living here for those of us who are here. So, I mean, remember that.
Taxes might go down.
Okay, this is our, sorry.
Peggy printed that out of Tony. So
We got a lot of.
don't leave home without it.
We will have more of these meetings as we go along. We have to do it at different times of the day, I think, because people have other responsibilities. So,
Not everybody.
but we have to wrap it up right now because we are going to start our regular meeting on the Affordable Housing Committee. And you are welcome to stay. We are going to.
Thank you all. Thank you. Right. That's.
No, it's good. Yeah, no problem.
Didn't do too much in the way of disinformation.
Just talked about Yeah.
I just lost part of my.
Oh, everybody's pausing. All right, I'm gonna stop on and for this second part.
Hopefully your son's feeling okay.
Yeah, hopefully there's no messes.
Yeah, like, good luck to you when you get home. See you soon.
So, you know, we're
So Aaron, I do have the agenda item.
So I just.
And it's not just about sport.
For your question.
Well, it was, you know, something I thought a lot about. Since I live in Fishkill, I don't know a lot. There's so I never asked a question. So your answer was it's teeny tiny. I didn't know really.
Okay, folks, we have to have our regular meeting of the Affordable Housing Committee. Everybody's welcome to stay if they want. It's an important meeting. Hello there, how are you? Anyway, we'll talk.
We're on TV, we're on TV. Oh my God. Thank you for coming.
Where do you go?
Right, they're not affordable.
Get in trouble.
Yes.
Okay.
You have your agenda, that's good.
You know, but I asked him if I should share it. He said.
Next
No, that's important.
Next
Because
time.
people are saying, "There's a lot of work doing great."
There's a lot of stairs. It shouldn't make it
Well,
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Eric is not coming.
Another public meeting.
Thank you for coming.
You know, yeah, I was just checking my email and it just came across. So, yeah.
I gave her a plan when she
Good. That's the plan.
I did get a copy.
left.
I saw that it came. Wow. All right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Ready, we're here.
Okay. Meeting of the Affordable Housing Committee is hereby called to order. We will have the approval of the minutes of the March 6th, 2024 meeting,
I need to make a
and we have.
correction. Oh, sorry.
Get there. Any amendments or corrections?
Yeah, so, a correction that matters is that I have a typo. The fee, it's in the paragraph under presentation, with Mr. Barnhart. The fee is $5 per 1,000 each.
Yeah.
Project. I mistyped there, so
Okay,
if we
correct.
could correct that, that'd be great.
That's the only issue?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the change?
Aye.
Thank you. Any, now all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? Any objections? Thank you very much. Okay, there is, we have on our agenda, a public comment period, which starts right now. So is anybody interested in saying anything more than we went through the last hour and a half? So, okay, if that's not the case. I think let's talk a little bit about what happened in the meeting we just finished. And I don't think we have to go into an enormous amount of detail, but I think it'd be useful for us to just talk about our feelings about the meeting, how it goes, should we be doing more of these things, and should we do them, do you have an issue about time of day, et cetera, et cetera. So anybody would like to make any comments on the meeting?
There's no question but that it's a senior issue. The average age is probably above 60 here today, and it's definitely a senior issue.
Well, it's
Those are
also
the
three
people-
o'clock
Also,
in the
people are
afternoon.
looking.
Yeah, it's
It's also
four
the time of
o'clock.
day.
I think the time of day has a lot to do with it.
Just
If
a,
you have meetings in the evening, you're gonna get senior citizens.
Correct.
that was the main complaint I got when I did my blast of emails to,
Two-
the 3 o'clock
Work.
was not great.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
have,
so we'll do another.
I think, what about the idea of having something on the weekend, Saturdays?
No.
No,
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 no.
we should do Saturdays.
People will not do.
You gotta do it in the evening for
Yes.
people who work.
Yeah,
Like 6:30.
We can do,
Yeah.
the choices are evening or weekends, that's all, so no one wants to do weekends.
6 or 6:30.
6:30, we did, what was the last one? We did
Six.
6 o'clock.
Six, the last one.
And we had about 100 people
Yeah.
online or in person. so.
Get the kids.
I don't think we have to set a date for this right now, but I think probably we should try to do something in April.
Sure.
An agreement with that.
I'm sorry?
Having a meeting in the evening in April.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we say,
Push that back.
Sorry?
I feel like once a quarter is gonna be plenty. I feel like we just did two back to back.
We did. Yeah.
And we can make a big blitz like in the beginning of May. I don't know. It just seems
Okay,
like April seems like it's like
A
here.
little too close.
I mean,
Like-
we'll-
Yeah,
we'll-
I know.
This is James said that.
If you're looking for a location, the cafe for the senior center should be reopened in May, so that might be a larger location.
Yeah.
that'd be great.
We could maybe offer that up.
And
as
we
an
could
option.
have it at 6 or 6:30?
Yeah, we'd have to look at the day and we
Okay.
could figure that out.
Well, why don't we, Heather, if you would, if you come back to us with a day, why don't you pick the day? If
Okay.
there's a general agreement, we can wait till May.
If we're gonna not do April, I'd like to see it as early in May as we can. I think that there's
Well, I think
momentum
before-
building.
You have to do it pretty early, otherwise you're at the holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So probably the first week in May, maybe is there like.
I just want to confirm that the construction is done before I
Yeah.
commit to, so if we might not be able to confirm a date for a couple of weeks, just so I can confirm the construction is done.
Okay, but why don't we then reserve the Hammonasset room if we could?
Okay.
As a backup, or just
Sure.
maybe make sure that we have a room. And anybody want to pick a day? I mean, I would say like Wednesday or Thursday, the middle of the week for 6:30 meeting.
So if you're looking for the senior center, a Thursday would be a better option, just
Thursday?
to make sure that the room is clear, there's no other groups in there.
Okay,
Actually,
But it would have to be in person at the senior.
it would have to be in person, we wouldn't be able to offer it as a Zoom.
It's fine. I think these are better in person than Zoom. I think this is better in person than Zoom.
Yeah, no Zoom.
It's
Yes.
too hard to manage the
so
screen.
no one minds. not
Yeah.
having-
No Zoom.
You know, we could
I think
do,
what you should do though is we should record the session. Because
Yes.
it's just audio recording. not
Yeah.
necessarily-
what we could do though, Mark, I think, is slate an all Zoom meeting. Not a hybrid, but an all Zoom for people who can't get it.
That sounds fine to me, yeah.
And offer that up as another option, on another date.
And another day,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are the dates there, Francie?
The Wednesday, the first is a Wednesday, the second is a Thursday.
Okay, why don't we tentatively then, if we could, Heather, say the 2nd of May, which is a Thursday.
That's clear. I won't know about the construction until probably mid-April, just to
Okay.
confirm that we're wrapping up and
Sure.
100%
Should
ready.
we leave the first as an option in case the second is available?
Well, no, I
Um,
think if the second's not available, it's because the construction's not finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
the first I wouldn't be able to do, there's a group that uses the cafe, so if we're reopened, they're gonna be using that
So how
space.
about the 8th?
It's a Wednesday, she said Thursday.
Thursday,
The 8th would work. I don't have a group in there on the 8th.
So the 2nd or the 8th?
that's fine.
Yeah.
And just, and then the only question is gonna be the construction. And we'll know that in another couple of weeks. But we will, let's reserve for the 2nd, the Hammonasset room as our.
Okay, I don't have access to that calendar, but I'll look into that
Okay,
tomorrow and we'll
great.
figure that out.
Yeah, it could be better for me. Okay, any other comments you want to make about this? I think the information that we provided was somewhat helpful, although I think it's always, I think your point, Peter, about it being a senior issue, it certainly is a senior issue, it's not just a senior issue. Right. So we do have to address that. Time. So I'm perfectly comfortable with the second of May. Any other comments you want to make
I
about
have one process suggestion, that we, especially when a large crowd, we should announce that, we want people who've spoken to leave. Everyone who hasn't spoken should be allowed. There's some people who spoke 4, 5, 8 times,
Yes,
and others were,
that's why right at the end I said anybody who
Yeah.
hasn't spoken, but there was no
but I
one.
think just sort of there's a ground rule.
Mhm. But I think people were respectful of the time, so that no one was.
Yeah, nobody went
throwing
overly
on-
long.
throwing on Main Street.
It's amazing to me too that people don't think there's enough land in Madison to build affordable housing. All we have to do is drive around a little bit. I mean, I probably have identified 30 properties that look like they would, you know, all you.
You're hired.
Yeah, it's true. All you have to do
I
is.
think we're done. Peter.
Yeah, you solved the problem.
Yeah, you saw it. Okay.
The developers.
I mean, you gotta buy the land and you gotta put
Yeah,
in
you do.
water and sewer, you know. Other than that, may not be too good for the developers, but in terms of land availability, it's the same with all these communities that don't have water and
So I
sewer.
think you got something. Anybody want to comment on the meeting?
So, to that point though, the Westport guy mentioned contaminated land, and there is land, for example, down Boston Post Road on the right as you're coming from Clinton, where the doctor driveway person used to be, and supposedly that land has some contamination issue, but, supposedly, there are spots that maybe are not desirable as is, but could be remedied and grant money used, like, for example, to turn that beautiful potentially site into something, and, so we looked at contaminated sites we have in town, I'm sure you have.
We're just getting started.
We're just
That's
getting
right.
started.
We are working on that, but there are issues. I mean, you know, piece of land looks all right now, but it also floods, or at least fits into the flood zone. And
For sure.
You have to look at all those different things. It's not
Well,
just.
that's the easy part, the flood zone, because that's highly regulated by town, but,
Highly
but private land, maybe people who own private land that aren't able to sell it because it's contaminated, for example, or.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought, yeah.
There is both state and federal brownfields money for that.
Yeah. It's-
Oh, yeah.
But I think we should make a note of that because I think it's, that idea of this is probably,
Yeah.
at least look into what that means and how we do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Richard Partisano. I guess I'm a guest here because I'm not from Madison, Walworth. But I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee in Walworth.
And you have nice properties.
So, you know, right now I'm working for Benfink.
Yeah.
As an intern, downtown. I mean, one thing, just a suggestion, one of the things I've come across like in Walworth, off the wall idea is, all right, when you talk about affordable housing, I mean, you're talking about you have land and you have building. A plus B equals your cost. Okay, and it can be a very expensive cost. If you look at land trusts that can be available, well, land trusts, 2 categories. 95% of the land trust is open space, hiking trails, that type of thing, don't touch it. There's also a contingent called community land trust, which is could be applicable for affordable housing. That's basically saying we have land, it's available. It can be already available, paid for, or it could be acquired for low cost, whatever. So now instead of having a cost condition like this, it could be shrunk down.
We have actually a working group that's looking into how do we, you know, what are the various communities that use land trusts, how do they finance them, all these kinds of things, which is being done right now. So we have not had a conclusion to that research yet. We are looking into that.
Thanks for the comment. That's really useful.
Okay, anybody, any other comments? The update on 24 Wall Street, and that is, we are looking at a building that is owned by the library that was moved when they did build their addition to the existing library a couple of years ago. It is unoccupied. It was occupied there are 2 apartments in retail space. And it's been somewhat deteriorating over the past couple of years. And we were looking at the idea of perhaps being able to find someone to get a preservation of it as well as rehab it as a usable house. It's minor, they very little difference in terms of our 10%, because of two units or possibly 3. But if it were done that way, it's a prominent location, it's the way to lead directly behind the library, to the left of the driveway. So we have a number of things that we're considering, and one of them is to find some funding, which looks like we can find that would be preservation for it. Again, we have to work with the library on that. That would be done through the Historical Society's Preservation Committee to try to preserve the building. And secondly, would be try to work with the developer to create the rehab of the building. Any additions to the power mapping? Nothing. Okay, let's have the reports from working groups. I think minute Jane.
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
So, I was working on identifying the parcels of real estate owned by the town. And I have come up with a list from a database that I use that probably consists of somewhere between 35 to 40 pieces. So that was a pretty good guess there, Peter. That might be the starting point for us, eliminating everything that was in major flooding areas and eliminating anything that was under a half an acre. And so we're just at the beginning. Francine and I will be sitting down to start looking at each of the pieces individually next week. We'll be coming into this conference room down the hall here to look at it on the big screen. I have a database that I use at home. It's a tax database that I collated all of these from. But Erin has the GIS database, or the town does, which I could use at home. But Francine and I want to do it together and look at the same thing simultaneously. So we're going to be meeting on a regular basis to try to narrow down that list. And
any thoughts about what you found so far?
You know, there was more than I thought there was going to be. We're going to sit down and take a glance and come up with the criteria. We know that the obvious criteria is close to the village, transportation, things like that. However, that said, there's financing criteria for grants and loans, which are weighted for the tax credit funding if we were to do a larger development. And ironically, the criteria credit increases if you move to North Madison. So that means it makes it a little bit easier to potentially get funding from grants and or loans, whatever, from the state. So I think I need to revisit all of that and sit down with Francine, and then we're going to look at physical parcels. And then also determine, I mean, there are some that are out in the middle of nowhere, but there are some that are right next to, you know, main roads. So obviously those next to main roads are preferable because it's going to be easier to pull utilities through. But so we're going to go through this process. And then I would think, you know, sit down and present to you guys, because we're not going to make this decision on our own, to see what your opinions are. And then I think what we do then is we get somebody who's a developer in to say, hey, what about A, B, and C? So, because we're not developers, obviously. So there's that, and then
For their advice, this is not
Yeah.
RFP.
Yeah.
This is-
yeah, just to get advice and maybe an RFP next year or something, you know. So that's where we are.
I've met with both the Regional Water Authority and with the Land Conservation Trust, the head of that. And they have a short 2-letter answer to every single request for possible properties, you know, to develop. No.
No.
Okay, It's unbelievable. So, you know, we have to take it to a much higher level if we're gonna attack any of those properties. And the water company owns unbelievable amount of property in Madison.
Yeah.
You know, and if you go up north, either North Summer Hill or Route 79, you're gonna see a lot of that. And boy, you know, we look at it and we say, gee, wouldn't an apartment building fit beautifully right here? Ease of transportation, et cetera, but no, there's no way.
Yeah, I think, Peter, we were looking at town owns property, so I think.
I understand that, and
I
I'm
think
glad-
that's-
looking forward to seeing it.
But Aaron also mentioned we should be looking at state-owned as well,
Yes,
and to your
please.
point, water company, so we will be going through that. But we're starting with town, and then we'll expand to state, and then, I don't know, I think the water company, I think you're probably gonna have to drill through several layers to get to somebody who might understand what it is.
Dozens of layers,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can put you,
Before that
I can give you a
goes
phone
away.
number for the guy that runs the real estate for the
I
water.
think we want to do the town owned property,
Yeah.
because that's the easiest, and we have people here who are willing to work with us.
Right.
Then, as Jane said, then you can move into the state, and see what's at the state level. That is obviously another layer of issues to try to find out who the state is going to be, because I'm sure that the Department of Transportation owns some land in town. Some of the people in DOE stuff, so there's a whole lot of different.
We have good friends in the legislature who can help us.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more complicated than the town, that's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes, but
Okay, then. Yep. Okay, thank you, Jane. And, that, you want to talk about, Eric's not available today, so.
yeah, so I will present Eric's report. I just want to say on the other two projects, Anthony, Peter and I have been contacting a number of towns, 30 or 31 on this. We're slowly working our way to getting people to return our calls. It's not easy, but we're getting there, and we are inquiring about how the town itself is structured to deal with affordable housing. That is to say, is there one person? And then more specifically, do they have a housing trust fund? And to drill down details of that, how it's managed, and what the funding sources are, and where possible, what they yielded to date. Although we're not yet, I think, through enough to have a sort of consensus view, my sense from looking at the data we've gotten so far is that there are no surprises, that the ordinances that the towns adopt lay out a half dozen or 10 sources of funding and say any and all other sources, including these. And the main ones are fee in lieu, where there's inclusionary zoning. Some towns with inclusionary zoning don't use a fee in lieu, but they do have a surcharge. It's laid on top of their housing permit fees. And it's somewhere between 0.5% and 1% of the development costs for new development or major renovation additions. Not when somebody goes with that. And surprisingly, a couple of towns think they're going to rely on contributions. Nobody yet has, I think, a fixed annual contribution from the town budget. Some are in conversations about it. We haven't encountered anybody yet who's using the optional increase in the property transfer tax that the state applies. Towns are authorized to lay on a 25 basis point addition. Nobody's yet mentioned that. Some towns.
This is all focused on the trust fund.
This is all the trust fund, how do they fund the trust fund? And a couple of towns maybe have access to ARPA money, but that's difficult because because the town is under pressure to spend it before it expires. So if they don't happen to have a shovel-ready project, it's going to be some other use. And then the last thing, it escapes me, but it was there. Anyway, they all follow, the ordinances are almost verbatim the same. Oh, the last category was, is anybody using it to support affordable housing staff? And the answer is no. They
To pay their salaries.
Yeah, pay salaries. They think it's important that when you go into development and that the staffing be the other thing about it that's boilerplate is the usage. Again, they all follow sort of the Stanford model. Essentially, we can spend it for anything at all related to housing, including or longer. So I think we're going to wind up where we started. Eric will model for us with Madison data what the various approaches we can do. Once we have enough data, right, what we're trying to do. So we want to stay within the range of reality. So we're I would say, in terms of complete data, we're less than halfway through. It's probably going to take us at least another couple of weeks before we. At some point, we're going to have to just flip with people.
Well, if you do, you get a good sample, that's, you don't have to have everybody. If you get 20 or 30 towns.
Well, we'll get 30. If we could get 20,
I could.
Yeah. As long as we've covered, we think we've covered the field, in terms of the variety.
Yeah.
We keep looking, I keep looking for something new.
Probably copy the.
We're also finding, by the way, I'm finding, Peter, I don't know if you're, but as new as we are, we're ahead of it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's all.
Not in having built it.
No,
but in
right.
trying to figure out what to do and have a mechanism to do it. We all have plans, but the plans are not self-executing, and a lot of towns don't even have. Not only do they not have approvals, they don't even have affordable housing. So I don't know how they function. One of the towns said, well, two towns told me, including Milford, in the absence of anything affirmative that we have, said nothing. What's what? Developers will. They come in with an 830G, go for it. This was the.
Just let them go ahead.
And I also got
Did they have a trust fund in Milford though? Did they?
No.
Got nothing?
Up north, Windsor, same thing. We got nothing. So we're the women developed.
Just going back to what you mentioned, because you mentioned Stanford. So I was doing some research today on commercial properties in Stanford because I have a client who's a buyer. And something came up on the type of zoning for a property. And I was like, oh, what is that? So I went in and I clicked it. And it took me to a section that caught my eye because I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee here. It said section 7.4, below market rate housing program. So this was a very interesting piece. Also, I'm going to send it back to you. Have you read through this?
Yeah, I have that. It's their homegrown program.
Yeah, but the thing that I thought was really interesting, which it doesn't go into the detail as to how they do this, but preference for Stanford residents, preference for 50% of the BMR, below market rate units, shall be given to persons living or working in the city of Stanford.
Right.
Really? Yeah, that program is Stanford funded.
Yeah.
And it doesn't comply with state law. It's their own home ground. It doesn't isolate them from discrimination.
State 13.
So they're on their own. Yeah. It's a murky legal landscape.
They are mainly landlords. They're Stanford, yeah. Yeah, they have a couple of properties.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go to the website and try to find somebody to talk to about affordable housing, you get routed right to their rental properties. And so you have to call the rental property and find a person there. Who's in charge of affordable, what? You know, it's really hard to find anybody in Stanford that you could identify with affordable affordable housing, but we're working on it. We'll get there.
But according to this, there is an affordability plan that has all kinds of information, especially plans for the management of the DMR units, particularly with respect to the maintenance and insurance of long-term.
The documents are there. The
So,
documents
yeah.
are, even the trust fund documents are there, but you can't find one person that
To answer
is
questions.
managing any of that stuff.
Yeah, look, a lot of this is new, and I
Yeah.
keep hearing that we adopted the ordinance, and now 2 years later, we're trying to figure out how to fund it.
Oh, then, yes,
One town,
exactly.
one
Not
town-
untypical.
Yeah, that's,
Municipal government.
We're getting there. So the big, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
please. Go ahead.
Finish up. I talked to the town of Westbrook today. And I could add to some of what we're talking about. Finish up.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so I talked to the town planner of the town of Westbrook today. And he reiterated a lot of what we're talking about, but they had an affordable housing committee. They met for about 2 years. I looked at some of their minutes, but they're disbanded now. And they haven't met for a while, but no, they don't have a point person. They don't have a housing trust fund. They're at 5% affordable housing. Westbrook.
And they're gonna get that huge development.
Yes, I know.
You wonder how much of those are.
When I hung up the phone, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't ask him about that, but yes,
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing with that.
yeah,
Has
that's gonna be
Has that been firmed up? You probably
huge.
know.
I just
Yeah.
had read about it.
Yeah, that they're, there's gonna be housing.
Hundreds of
Yeah,
units.
That's gonna be,
Mixed
yeah.
mixed use, yeah.
Right, they don't have anything really active right now, but I gotta ask him about that.
How
He
did
was
they
really
get to
not,
5%?
sorry,
How did they get to 5%?
5%.
Lucky.
He said, and I looked it up too, they have a zoning officer that meets monthly with, they're the lower Connecticut regional. They're not.
Yeah, the
Scrog?
lower-
They're not part
Yeah.
of, they're not part of SCROG.
They're
Yeah.
different, they're a different cop.
Different in Scrog, yeah.
Yeah, different.
So they made, after the Affordable Housing Committee recommendation, they made a lot of zoning changes. And ADU regs was on the top of their list, and they made some big changes there. 3 and 4 family units. And he said what they created too is an IHZ, Incentive Housing Zone. I think something that Jay mentioned before, regional. They want to go regional with this. I didn't fully understand it, but he said the regional housing where they can partner with different towns. They're doing that. And the other big thing too they're doing is they're looking at the downtown community for a septic system, which would be increased. That's on
Sewer
their
system?
septic.
Septic?
Yeah,
Big septic.
big septic system.
Like a sewer.
The downtown Westboro.
You mean a sewer system or?
He said
just-
septic.
Bigger sewer
Wastewater
going into a
treatment
septic.
plant.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I thought that was interesting, and right now, just staff members, board members, and committee members kind of address anything that does come up, but there's no active affordable housing
Board members, board of selectmen,
on different boards.
different boards.
Yeah.
Deal with that.
Yeah.
Anthony, they have a housing authority there, I think. Is
Westbrook?
that?
No, I asked them, no trust fund, no point person,
No
nobody
housing authority?
actively pursuing.
I don't know, I thought I saw them on
I
the list
thought that they
somewhere.
had a housing.
Yeah.
I think they may have one of those original housing authorities. It's not doing anything.
Oh, okay,
Built-
yeah, because
built
it said
senior
nothing,
housing 30 years ago.
nothing active now. Somebody
Okay.
that's-
Yes.
But they're
there
at
is.
5%. And this development.
Merge with that.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's where.
Can we just talk about the legal for a second?
Sure, yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
I just meant if you're talking, yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm working on it. Thanks for sending me some ideas. I'm thinking, I kind of went back to the plans for reading. Okay, so read it once through the dance. That's one. Benedict
Sorry,
said, what
could you
about,
speak
I'm
up?
sorry, that I'm starting to look at the newsletter, going to put it on the newsletter. And so when you said to me, well, what about some facts about Madison housing? And I thought, okay, well, what exactly is that? And I started reading the plan again. And so I'm thinking maybe I might just, I haven't figured out how to head it, but maybe I will start to put some of the plan on the newsletter. I don't know. I'll, if if I can work it out.
Well, the recommendations,
And because there's line items like 1, 2, 3, this is what I should do. I don't know. It's what I'm thinking about right now. So I don't know.
okay.
I wasn't
okay.
meaning that anybody had to
That's
write
a good
anything.
idea.
I just was looking for it.
Bennett has led us, this little subcommittee, through the recommendations, and we've been guided just by the recommendations. If you read recommendation 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, that's exactly what we're trying to do with this part of it. So we're adhering to the plan very well, I think. I mean, in terms of what we're doing. Now, progress is another thing.
But you might want to take sections.
Yeah, no,
Francine,
I just
and,
meant,
you know, bring out,
I just meant a paragraph that was making sense to something.
Yeah,
that just
sure,
include
sure.
information.
Sure.
That way, maybe we can speed that information out.
and we might want to
That's on the way and say,
Sure.
here's the.
One of the things I thought we might add to the newsletter is what other projects outside of Madison that seem to be in progress, like that article about the Clinton school being converted to affordable housing. I mean, that, I think those are like solid examples, and they're our neighbors. So maybe further down, after, you know, maybe the, like, whenever, two issues.
it might be good to
we
learn about
start-
it.
Yeah, we start citing examples like
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I think doing chunks from the plan, examples, maybe facts, could be like features that
Repeat
repeat every
themselves.
issue, have something new to add. People sort of expecting to see something.
I think you should probably invite whoever in charge of converting that building at the school and let them find out what they're doing.
Their town planner is very friendly. She would be happy to meet us, I'm sure.
Okay, we'll hear with you, reach out to that person
Sure.
and just say, look, we'd like to learn more about it, or somebody we can Zoom. You know, show the person, I think it'd be useful for me to just hear what's going on, since it's literally a neighborhood. Very similar kind of situation.
Okay,
That's
so
nice.
at long last, we have our first recommendation. Eric has been able to be here to present it. But we did send you all the document, which is for our use, not one that's intended to be distributed. And quite timely, it's the promotion of ADUs. And you saw, I guess, at our last meeting or 2 meetings ago, you saw the results of Eric's nationwide research. I guess we call it promising practices from around the country that sort of get wrapped around the revised regulations. Eric included those as an appendix, but the recommendation, the action argument is really a process that because the plan calls for specifically changes to promote ADUs, and because P&Z has adopted that, what we're suggesting is that the approach planning and zoning with the creation of a joint working group on ADUs, where we would look at what other communities here seems potentially useful for us. We would look at the parts of the state law that we chose not to adopt that might make sense for us. And we put together with them a sort of rough outline of the components of a comprehensive project to promote the use of ADUs, not with a specific focus on affordable housing, but incorporating within that broader concept how we could take advantage of it. And that we then invite the community to talk to us about their experiences with ADUs, what kinds of changes they would like to make, what reactions to what their working group has come up with. And then out of that, the working group would bring a recommendation to P&Z, and probably to the board of Sutton, because some of the wraparound stuff is not in the jurisdiction of P&Z, it's a part of the ordinance. But anyway, after that internal work group and the public feedback, there would be a formal recommendation to the appropriate authority, especially. And
So you're,
we think this is something that could move quite quickly. We have not spoken to P&Z, but we also, the recommendation was that Jen, who is liaison both to us and P&Z, the sponsors and supporters of the work group, since they're going to be involved at both ends of it.
so your recommendation is that we reach out to planning and zoning and to establish a group on their side and on their side to try to understand what it is now and where we're going. And then out of that may come some recommendations as to what we make to the board of selectmen.
The specific recommendations for legislation would come out of the working group.
I have an observation about this though. You are making the assumption that the P&Z has a lot of time in their hands and that they're going to want to partake in yet another working group, so to speak. And you have volunteers that are working sometimes till 11 o'clock at night on projects that are ongoing for people coming in to make changes to their houses or build things. So I think it's our job to do that, not to lay off another group. I think it's our job to come up with the recommendations, not to include another group to help us make those recommendations. And I think we can make those recommendations based on the amount of work that's been done so far with a little bit more added. And then maybe if you want the community feedback, that's always helpful as well. And then you present that to the P&Z and then they can digest it and come back with their thought process. But I don't think I think you're elongating the process and you're making the assumption that these people, a lot of who are volunteers, are going to have the bandwidth. And I don't think they do.
What do other people think?
Any other comments?
When I read that, I did kind of have the same reaction, like, we're already a working. So then, isn't it, are we not to, like, look at the whole accessory dwelling units situation, whatever, what are Madison's rules about it now? What's in the new law? I know that Madison opted out at present. What is there something that we would want to opt in? And so, and then we just, and then we make those recommendations, like, here's what we've discussed, here's what we've been consensus on. And, but I kind of agree with Jane. I don't really know that they're all going to want to have to meet again and have another group to discuss. And then besides that, it's really big. There'd be a lot of people to all be as a working group.
No, we're not talking about the committee of the whole. We're talking about a work group of representatives from us and them.
Oh, you mean just a few people from this committee and a few people from those committees?
Yes, a joint working group.
But
To Jane's point is
saying
that
we are the
none of
working
people,
group.
none of the people are really going to be there. That's me.
Yeah.
So let me just say, two communities, we borrowed this from, we found it very effective. One specifically around ADUs and one on a variety of topics. Where affordable housing committee work jointly with PMC to develop the recommendations formally presented to the council. So that's where the idea came. It is entirely possible that nobody in PMC would be interested in that. But it seems to me if we approach them and say we would be happy to do this in concert with you because you're the ones who can lead the change. Or if you prefer, we can come to you with a recommendation.
Maybe it's the way you present it. Maybe you say to them, we've done this research. We have these recommendations. How would you like to move forward in trying to make this happen? At least that puts them in the driver's seat of saying, okay, how do we want to approach this? Instead of saying, hey, let's create a working group. Because when you say that, you're you're kind of putting onus on them to say, and they're gonna say, well, what's been done, blah, 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 how much time is it gonna take? But if you present it that way, and you present your recommendations and say, how do we move this forward? And we realize that, you know what, it might take a little bit of work to get there, then it might be different, it might be more palatable to them. I'm just telling you, I know these people were, because I personally have friends that are on the meetings.
From my own
And they're all
experience.
saying, don't give me any more work.
I'm gonna say from my own experience
I know at
being
least
on that.
one person who would be happy.
Okay, well,
Okay.
can I just add another comment?
Could just, Francine, anything, or anything you want to say about this?
No, it's all great.
Okay.
But I'm agreeing with the part where I think we do the brunt of the work and we present it to them and have them vet it. I think that's what I keep hearing. And that would actually, I think, move it forward more, where they're gonna be like, okay, they did most of the work. This is what you need to do to move it forward. And then they would have a vested interest in helping us out. Go ahead.
Francine?
Yeah, so, yes, on that part. My thoughts on this also, just to add to the concept of the fact that there's just one person or two people doing this and presenting this. There's only 7 of us in the Affordable Housing Committee. And when I got this and it said, we're handing this to you for ratification, I thought, oh, wow, I thought we were going to discuss this, because at the February 20th meeting, that was when we had received the thing that said a draft. But then we never talked about the draft. And then I got something that said, okay, now we want to know, please look at this, because we would like to ratify it. And I was thinking, well, what happened to discussing it?
I think they are discussing it.
That's what we're
Oh,
doing.
okay,
That's what we're
well,
doing.
It sounded to me like this was a done deal and we're
No, it's
supposed
a
to say.
recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Not a done deal until it's a done deal.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
What might be useful is to have Erin review it and see if she can identify any potential issues that might come up with current zoning to help move it forward even further before you connect with the P and Z board.
I think Aaron should see. it.
Yeah, I think
That's not
she,
good. That's
Yeah.
because she might be able to just, sort of redline whatever's an
Redline,
issue, let you, circle ideas that might be concerns and then ways around, to discuss.
But let's go, try to resolve this thing. I think we've got 2 different points of view. We should do that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I think what I'm hearing is that we will do most of the work ourselves. And we will, I think that maybe we inform Carol Snow to start out as the chair of P and Z and say, this is what you're working on right now. And I think the idea, do you wish personally, or do you wish to appoint somebody to work with us? We're happy to go the other way. So because I think we should work with them. But I think the feeling right now, I think, is that creating a joint working group is probably not a necessary step. I think Eric's done a lot of work on these things, a lot there, and well written. So I think we could go with that and be able to show that to Carol. So this is kind of the stuff we're thinking after Aaron has a chance to take a chance to look at that.
I don't think Aaron should be betting it. We'd love to hear her feedback.
Well, that's what I mean. Is there, I mean, I think exactly, let Heather use her own words. Look at it, if there are any issues there that Aaron can flag, so we know.
We have not made any specific recommendations about P&Z changes.
We shouldn't do this one. But
We've not made,
But
in
we're
any
saying
of the
that-
documents, we haven't made any specific, just generally. they have to be-
But we have a recommendation. Recommendation is that we think the ADUs should be on the agenda for the planning and zoning.
They are,
Yeah, I mean, that's our recommendation.
but they are.
But I'm not sure I understand, Pete, then what are we doing? What are you doing? What are we talking?
Oh, they're going to change the regs on ADUs.
But don't we want to make our
Yes. of
comments
course.
before that happens?
Absolutely.
Okay, well then, again, what did I say was wrong?
Well, wait a second, when are they doing this? Is it an agenda item that's already been up?
No, they're working
You said it
on
was
they're just
center
talking about it.
conservation
Okay.
development.
Along with everything else,
They have to do 60 days.
but it's along with all the other things.
They
that
will be, this is on their agenda.
Yeah.
So Mark, I'm curious to know, your view about this. So you think we should go in and our specific recommendations?
Well, I don't know, when you say specific, I don't know what that means exactly. So I think, I think you should go in with it saying, from our point of view, affordable housing, this is not from the P and Z point of view or anybody else's. From the Affordable Housing Committee's point of view, these are the things that you should be taking on and making whatever adjustments you have to make in zoning materials that will facilitate this thing. We think the goal is to get more ADUs in town. So that sharing that information.
And can we say that we think that, for example, the size should be increased from 8 to
Yeah.
12?
Okay, so
Yeah. I
So
think-
those are specific regulatory recommendations.
And I think committee should review what we want to say in the
Of course,
specifics.
yes.
that's what I was getting at, truth be told.
It wouldn't be a committee recommendation.
Yeah, it would be a committee recommendation.
Okay.
But I,
Well, they've got to do comprehensive review. And
Yeah,
so
they have
we're gonna have to.
but we
fight.
don't have the skill set to help them decide that. Our job is
I
just.
don't understand, but we have to fight for our issues, not to get.
Yeah.
Put at the back of the list.
I agree with that. Of course. So I mean, let's turn this into more of a recommendation that we are alerting the P and Z through the chairperson. That this is what we're looking to recommend to you. You should make part of your discussions over the summer when you're doing your whole thing with the conservation.
Well,
Is that wrong?
yeah, I don't think we want to say it over the summer. I think we should.
I thought that's when they were going to do it.
Well, they're gonna have to work on all the regulations.
Right.
We'd like to do ADUs now. We've done a lot of work and we're gonna do more. We'd like to be able to present our recommendations. And then we might talk about whether those could be done separate. So that we
Well,
have,
that's their decision.
because as you wanted something that actually done this year.
I would like to get something done this year.
So that's a detail we can.
Okay, I think we're on the same page. So we, I mean, is this,
I'm still not completely,
okay, then,
when you say that we're presenting to them about, is there two presentations? Is it, we're just letting P and Z know that this is what we consider to be a high priority, and we would really like them to, when they start to look at their regs, try to put it at the top.
And here's our recommendation.
Is that what the message is right this minute? And we're gonna actually, but then we're gonna take all this information, and we're gonna talk as a committee as what specific things do we think are, that we're gonna do that work yet, because we haven't talked about.
no,
this.
that's
what I get.
exactly. right.
Okay, so this is not going to them. We're just gonna say.
No, it never was. But then it said that
Well,
before
I
it
was a
started.
little confused because it said they're wrapping.
So
this
let me
up.
That was-
just,
that
let
was
me
theirs.
just be clear, what I heard Mark say and what I thought was sort of a compromise that you offered. We go to them and say, we've been working on this. We know it's a priority for you. It's a priority for the plan. It's a priority for us. We've done a lot of work. We've got more to do. Do you have an interest in having someone work with us?
How would you like us to work with you? That's-
Yeah. And if they want to do it jointly, we welcome their participation.
If they,
And if not, then
Not
we will
willing.
come back to them with our recommendations as soon as we get through.
everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't think that's-
Okay. Are you there?
Yeah.
Problems and things?
No, I mean, I think we can do it, but that's fine. We
We
can.
can always do it, but as the chair told us in the subcommittee, we have to be careful about imposing our views on the people who are the deciders.
I don't think we're imposing our views. We're just making our recommendation as the plans.
And we're trying to show,
It's fine. We can stop
Collaboratively, we
talking
can
about
work
it.
together.
I agree. Let's
Okay.
go forward.
That's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
So the only other thing is for me to mention that we are still an ad hoc committee. We are still an ad hoc committee.
Yes, we are.
And we are not a commission. And according to Erin, there's a meeting, a full meeting this week, the 1st of April, at which point they are great. She says the change in our status. She also said that the change in the status is also other decisions along the same line, and then somehow or other there may need to be a public hearing on these things. So I think we're not making any speedy progress on this front. The one thing I do just want to mention is that once that happens, once they do this, maybe happens in the next months, hopefully, then we will all be asked to re-up for these positions. So we will be asked to be sworn in again as members of these commissions. And they'll probably we'll have to decide how to do that, but there'll be at least 2-year terms, but also some 3-year terms so that stagger the membership of the committees. So that's just an update on where we are.
As people see the ordinance that's before the board of selectmen on the affordable housing commission, circulated first by Peter and then and then I circulated another version that might be more accessible. Yeah, that's a good model.
I don't know what they're looking at, to be honest with you. That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know what our people.
What are people? I don't know what are people.
Oh, was that the Mansfield thing?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, did you say Mansfield?
Guilford.
Oh, Guilford.
Guilford.
Yeah.
Any other comments from anybody here? Anybody on the committee?
So speaking about P and Z, so I follow along that closely, and I also sit on the advisory committee to planning and zoning. They have their hands full. First Thursday of the month, they have their planning hats on. They have tremendous workload. This third Thursday of the month, tomorrow, you can go and see their agenda. They have a gigantic agenda. And they are just trying to keep their heads afloat and manage these gigantic projects. So the more you guys are able to do, and then you want the public to get involved. And then you want to, you can't rely on planning and zoning to do your job. I couldn't agree
Fair enough.
more.
We hear you. If there's no other anything, we are now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have our-